You definitely need 2 blocks. You definitely need to bring a towel. You definitely need a strap. So we're not going to use a strap today, but we use a strap maybe every 3rd class. So today we're going to get started in the pose of a child. So start off on your hands and knees. You can come up on your knees. Bring your hands down. Now I like to extend my knees out really wide, stretch my mat that's already wider than normal so that my groins can open up a little bit more. But this is a mild hip opener, and it's also a nice spine lengthener. So from here, inhale, stretch your spine long, and then kind of walk your hands forward, bringing your chest down towards the mat. You may not get there, that's okay. You can support your head on the mat, on a rolled up towel, on a block. And then take a big inhale in through your nose and exhale it out through your nose. And another in through your nose, out through your nose, and let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. Focus on your breath, how that air comes in through your nostrils, swirls around in all of the nasal cavities where it gets clean and moistened and warmed. Then it flows down the back of your throat into your lungs. And just notice where the air goes in your lungs. You fill up from the bottom up to the top. You breathe into your ribs. There's nothing you have to do to improve or correct or make your breath better in any way. This is the breath that's kept you alive. So just observe the meditation part of yoga at the start of each class is to get your body comfortable, to focus on your breath so that your mind becomes more still. Certainly, at times during this practice, your mind will want to take over because that's what it's paid to do. But when that happens, when your mind begins to think of things that you should have done, could have done, would have done in the past, just note that, brush it away, and let that thought just float away, because there's nothing in the past that you can ever change. Likewise, if you start thinking about the future, there's precious little that you will be able to do that's going to affect the future. You can plan as much as you wish. But at the end of the day, you don't have an awful lot to do about the details that happen. Quite frankly, you don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow morning. So stay in the present. And the present is this instant. It's not a second ago. It's not 2 seconds from now. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin to walk your hands back towards your knees. Lift your hips up and come into table. Begin to do a few cat-cows. Get your knees hip-width apart as your hands are hip-width apart. Your wrist creases are directly underneath your shoulders, and your knees are underneath your hips. And on an inhale, drop your belly, bring your chest forward, lift your sit bones, and spread them. And then on an exhale, round your spine like a cat, tuck your tailbone under, and your chin comes towards your chest. And on an inhale, back to cow. And go with your own breath. Everybody here has a different. That's a good reminder to silence your phone. And the next time you come to center pause, from here, just look down between your legs. And if you can see your feet, move your feet outward so you can no longer see them. Now, when you're in cat-cow or in the table, your toenails are down, but this time come up onto your toes. We're going to do a toe stretch. So by having your feet out wider, you'll be able to walk your hands back, maybe move your knees back so that you can put some pressure on your toes. Now, you don't have to come back very far. You could come back and just sit on your heels if your toes will take that. Mine can't. Now, if you have arthritis in a particular big toe, like I just discovered, you can move one foot more than the other. But from here, just bring your hands back to make sure that your toes are engaged with the mat. And maybe feel the bottom of your foot. Now, if your toes are really sensitive, maybe leave one hand on the floor. But you're stretching the bottom of your feet, helping to prevent plantar fasciitis, which is a friend of everyone's. And then walk your hands forward. Now we're going to do something that we haven't done before, but it's kind of fun. I'd like you to keep your toes turned under, but walk your hands back and then come up onto your toes, kind of in a narrow toe squat. Now, this is not a toe squat where your heels are down, but to make this interesting, we're going to stretch the backs of your ankles. So walk your hands forward somewhat so that you'd fall forward if your hands were removed. And feel this in your feet. Again, the stretch across the bottom of your feet. It's a good thing we're not going to be here more than 5 minutes. And then walk your hands back. And then bring your hands and knees back down. Put your toenails back down and just sit back on your heels. This is an ankle stretch. Now your toes are probably pretty sensitive, so just be aware of that. And you're stretching out your ankles. And this is the top of your ankles that you're getting into. And these are really tiny muscles, but they're extremely important because so many people our age, well, some people's age, we don't flip our feet up as we walk. And we can catch the toes. And that will cause a fall, and a fall is really bad. But if you have really high arches, maybe you come all the way back and lift your knees up. Maybe not. You're just looking for that stretch on the top of your feet. You're not looking for pain. You're not looking for the world's championship. And then bring your knees back down. Come back into table. Do a couple of cat-cows. Maybe tap the tops of your feet on the mat. Get the blood flowing a little bit. And then come to center. Lift your right leg up and back. Step your right sole on the back wall. And then on an exhale, bring that right foot up next to your right pinky finger. Move your left knee back an inch or so. We're coming into that favorite pose for your hip flexors, dragon. Come up onto your knee, your hands onto that knee, and this is baby dragon. And with baby dragon, you can really feel this stretch along the top of your left thigh. That's your psoas. You can feel it on your right thigh also, and that's your psoas. Object here is to drop your hips down towards the mat. And you're saying, you gotta be kidding, right? Well, some people can get their hips down really low. Now you have an option here. You have many options. This might be really good for you. You may want to push that knee a little bit farther forward so you get a little bit more stretch in your Achilles and your calf. Now, if you'd rather have more sensation on your right psoas, you can bring your hands down to the mat. This is high flying dragon with your palms on the floor or on a block. And this makes the pose a little bit more intense on that right leg because your psoas is stretched even more. Stretch your spine long. Try to drop your hips down and try to keep your hips square to the front. You don't want to be accidentally meandering off to the side. Now, if this is good for you and you want to stay here, you can. If you'd like to intensify this, you can come down to low flying dragon. You can come all the way down onto your elbows, which is something that in the past I hated like you wouldn't believe. Wait a minute, that's the present. This is still not a pose that I really enjoy. But it's about the best hip flexor stretch that you can get. And if you'd like to modify this a little bit more, you can walk that right foot out a couple of inches or a lot. You can even come up onto your pinky toe side of your foot and just bend that knee out. And that will stretch your iliacus, which is the partner of your psoas. That's the muscle that lifts your legs and then brings your legs out to the side. But keep your spine long. And try to keep both elbows the same elevation. That will keep your shoulders level. Your left toenails should be on the mat. And everyone here has a different version of this pose because you're feeling it differently, because your body is different from everyone else. And that's good. Try to soften your muscles here. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your palms back down onto the mat. Straighten out your arms. And walk your hands back towards your left knee until you can release that right leg back beneath the left. And here you can do a couple more cat-cows. You can make some big circles with your hips if that feels good for you. Or if you like me, down dog still is the cure for almost everything. You can lift your hips up and back into down dog. You can walk out your dog. And then carefully return your knees down to the mat. Come on to your favorite hip. Swing your feet around to the front of the mat. And we're going to do a half dragonfly. In Hatha, you'd know this as Janu Sirsasana, a real catchy name. But I'm going to do this sitting on a block. And what that does is it allows gravity to be used a little bit more effectively. And if you choose to sit on a block, make sure your sit bones are on the very front edge so that it feels like you're about to fall off. Now, bend your left knee and bring your left sole into your right inner thigh. If you have a second block, you can lift your foot and rest that foot or that ankle, left ankle, on a block. This may help with the pose. Inhale your spine tall. Get the crown of your head up. Look towards your right leg. Then on an exhale, begin walking your hands outside your leg, drawing your collarbones towards their right foot until your body tells you to pause. Breathe here for a few moments. And notice where the stretch is. Is it in your hamstring behind that right leg? Is it in your back? Because it can be either place, because the targets are both. You may feel this in your hip socket. You may feel this in your calf. If you're tempted to grab onto that leg and pull, that's a different class. That would be my Ashtanga class. So join me on Mondays. But in Yin, we let gravity do all the work. You're trying to get those muscles that are stretched to soften. Maybe you want to just let those right toes just fall forward. If your muscles are still resisting, maybe just take your right hand and just lightly run your hand over those muscles that are still engaged. And that mere touch will give permission to those muscles to release. You may feel a little bit of sensation in your left leg, in your left hip socket, where your femur is rotating quite a bit. But if you have any pain or significant sensation in your left knee, that's not good. So just move that left foot closer towards the calf. To relieve that twist. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin to rise back up. If you've employed any blocks, carefully remove them. Set them aside. Bring your hands behind your hips. Bring both legs out to the front of the mat. Push your heels away. And then bring your soles onto the mat. You don't have to come way up close to your sit bones. And you can have your feet wide or they can be narrow. It's all up to you. But then try closing your eyes as you begin to windshield wiper your knees to one side. Feel where the sensations are. Then come back up. And then inhale and exhale the other side. And then go with your breath. And feel how your body brings more fluid back into those joints. Making it easier to move. Refreshing those joints. Next time you come to center pause, from here, come all the way down onto your back. Stretch your feet out towards the front of the mat. Raise your hands up towards the ceiling and then down on the floor beyond your head. Stretch. Heels to your palms. Fingers to your toes. Then return your arms back down by your side. Walk your footprints up towards your sit bone. Put your tailbone under. That will bring your sacrum down onto the mat. And we're going to do a spinal twist here with a couple of options. So begin by stretching your right foot up onto the ceiling, your sole of your foot. Now the first option is twisted roots, which is eagle legs. So you can bring that right thigh over the top of the left. And maybe, what makes this twisted roots, maybe you can hook your right toes behind the left ankle, like an eagle pose. Now, if you can't do that, that's fine. Just leave your right ankle on top of your left thigh. Bring your arms out into T. Make sure just go from here. And then on an exhale, lower your knees off to the left so that your left knee comes down. If you're in twisted roots, your knees won't come to the mat, but it can, if you're not, if that foot is just over the top of your thigh, bring that foot down to the mat or to the floor. You're getting a bit of a glute stretch, particularly on that right glute. If your foot is down on the mat, maybe in order to intensify it, bring that left knee up closer to your left arm. And you can feel the intensity increase on that right glute. Don't make it too much. Feel the stretch across your chest. Feel your obliques, which are below your ribs and above your pelvis on the front. On the back side, those same muscles are the quadratus lumbarum. And those are the muscles that twist your body. Soften them. Soften your lower belly. Soften your glutes. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, come back to center. Carefully extract your feet. Draw your right knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And then add the left knee. Push your hips away. Begin to rock a little bit left to right. And the next time you come to center, pause. The next pose will be back up in a seated pose. So maybe the easiest way is to just cross your ankles and rock forwards and backwards. Or if you'd rather, you can roll over onto your right side. Just pull it away with your left hand and come up into seated. This time we're going to do caterpillar, which is apparently an easy pose. But one thing, caterpillar, your legs are out straight, your toes are up high to start. If you have a second block, I would recommend placing it in between your calves. Inhale your spine tall. And then on an exhale, begin walking your hands alongside your mat, drawing your collarbones towards your feet again, and the crown of your head towards the far wall, so that your gaze, if your eyes are open, your gaze is right down at your mat. And then with your arms, to take those out of the equation, just bend your elbows and rest them on that block or on top of your legs. This pose also targets your hamstrings and your spine, but it's significantly different from the half dragonfly. And when your back starts to soften or your hamstrings start to soften, you can always increase the tension by moving your collarbones farther forward. Now, you may not be able to come very far. That's okay. That's why I use a block to sit on. Breathe into your lower spine. Even though your lungs don't come down below your rib cage, you can influence those muscles down there by diaphragmatic breathing. Using your diaphragm to push the organs down and stretch those muscles a little bit. Listen carefully. On your next inhale, come up maybe halfway. Stretch your collarbones farther forward. Try to moon the person behind you. That will tilt your pelvis a little bit more. And then forward fold again. Allow your spine to round and your neck to bend forward so your head is just hanging with no muscles involved. Maybe rock your head a little bit left to right or up and down, just to make sure that no muscles are engaged. Maybe your feet want to just fall forward or out to the side. Let them. All the work in yin is done when those muscles that you're stretching begin to soften. That's when the tension from your body position gets transferred into your fascia. And that stimulates the ends of your fascia at the joints, attracting more stem cells. And those stem cells will help your fascia grow a little bit longer, creating a little bit more space for your muscles inside your body. That gives you more mobility, more flexibility. Begin to deepen your breath. On the next inhale, walk your hands back, rising all the way up. And remove any blocks you may have used. Bring your hands behind your hips. Bend your knees again. I recommend changing your foot positions. And then close your eyes and reach away. Your feet, your knees, and see how different your hips feel. Similar poses, different reactions. The next time you come to center pause, from here, stretch out your legs again, push your heels away, come down onto your elbows, grab your block, come all the way down onto your back, and then bring your hands next to your hips and walk your footprints up next to your sit bones. From here, tuck your tailbone under, and on an inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Draw your heels towards your shoulders. Push your knees towards the front of the mat. And see if your hips don't rise a little bit more. This is bridge. This is a yan version of bridge that you find in any hatha class. And then carefully lower back down. This time, grab your block. Your block has 3 different dimensions. And if you don't want to use a block, you have 4 different dimensions to use. So this time, place the block underneath your sacrum the highest way possible. Highest way that you feel comfortable. So tuck your tailbone under, inhale, lift up, and then place the block underneath. And to get the 9-inch block underneath you, sacrum. There's nothing magical about that. You won't get extra points. Rest your hips down. If you feel stable here, you can walk your feet towards the front of the mat. And maybe you can draw your heels out. Again, that's not necessary. Maybe what you'd like to do is feel on the outside what you're feeling on the inside. Take your hands at your hip crease. See if you can feel your hip flexors that come across the front of the pelvis. They feel like two iron bands. And just let your glutes drop. Let your legs drop. Hold no tension in your legs. If you'd like to make this a little more intense, bring your arms up towards the ceiling and then lower them down towards the wall beyond your head. And then find a way to rest your forearms and your hands and your elbows on the mat. If it takes resting them on a block, do that. If you have to bring your arms back down by your side, that's a better choice. If your arms are suspended in the air, your arms are sending messages to the rest of your body not to relax, not to soften. So find a way to support your body. This is one of the reasons why having blocks is so important. And then on an inhale, return your arms back down by your side. Walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. And then inhale, lift your hips up, remove the block. Come back down and draw your knees into your chest. Rock left to right, or make big circles on the ceiling with your knees. And the next time you come to center pause, our next pose is going to start in table, so you need to get up. So cross your ankles and rock forwards and backwards. Come up, and then just roll over your knees, if that works for you, into table. And do a couple of cat-cows. Whenever you come to table, you never need to be told that you can do a cat-cow. This is your practice. And then lift your left foot up and back, place it on the back wall. Really stretch that hamstring. And then on an exhale, bring that left foot up next to your left pinky. Move that right heel or right knee back an inch or two. And then lift your hands back up onto that left knee, coming into dragon on the left side. And don't be surprised if this side is different than the first side. You have all the same options, whether or not I say them or not. can overstretch to give your ankles and your calves some relief. If you hiked 7.5 miles this morning, you may need that. I wonder who I'm talking about. And if you'd rather bring your hands down, go ahead. You don't have to if you're comfortable with your knee up high and your hands high. At any time, you can walk that left foot out to the side. See if you can lower your hips at all. Breathe in and out through your nose. By breathing in and out through your nose, you're getting more oxygen into your lungs and you're absorbing more oxygen that goes directly into your bloodstream. When you breathe through your mouth, all the air in your lungs is at regular atmospheric pressure. But when you breathe through your nose and your mouth is closed, the pressure increases by about 20%, which means that there's 20 to 25% more air in your lungs. It's just more densely packed. That allows your blood to pick up 15 to 20% more oxygen with each breath. Breathing in and out through your nose also invokes your parasympathetic nervous system, the calming part of your nervous system. Breathing in and out through your mouth is the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight. You can stay here if you'd like, or you can be adventurous and come down onto your elbows, knowing that if you make that choice, you can always rescind it and go back up. Don't stay in a pose if your muscles don't soften. The targets here are your hip flexors. So your shoulders are probably going to be engaged. Try to breathe into your hips. Deliver more oxygen to those muscles that are working the hardest to relax. Begin to deepen your breath. Then your next inhale, bring your palms back to the mat. Straighten out your arms. Walk your hands back. Retrieve that left leg. Come back into table, cat-cow. Feel how good that is on your lower spine. Again, you can make circles for cat-cow or down dog. Or something of your own choosing. And then when you're ready, lower your knees back down. Come on to your least favorite hip. Bring your legs around in front. And we're back to half dragonfly for Janu Sukhasana. So this time, starting with both legs stretched out, then bend your right leg. Bring your right sole into the left inner thigh. Lift your spine tall. If you're on a block, your sit bones are right on the front edge so that you're almost ready to fall off, but I guarantee you won't. Inhale tall, and then on an exhale, slowly walk your hands on both sides of your leg. Drawing your collarbones forward. The crown of your head towards the far wall. Maybe that right knee comes down a little bit more as gravity urges it to twist in your hip socket a little bit more. It's one of the stealth advantages of this pose. If you opened your eyes, you're looking right at your knee. You don't want to be looking at your foot because that might hurt your cervical spine, your neck, which has some of the smallest muscles in your body. Maybe you want to rest your hands on your shin, palms up, and just let your shoulder blades float off the sides of your back. Your spine is rounded. Your head is falling forward. Soften your jaw. Soften your temples. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly rise up. Walk your hands back. Bring both feet out towards the front of the mat, stretching your heels away. And then put your footprints on the mat, however you wish. And then again, close your eyes. Go inside your body as you begin to windshield wiper. Is one side different than the other? And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Keep your hands next to your hips. Walk your footprints closer to your sit bones. And then lift your left foot up onto the ceiling. Stretch that heel away, maybe spread your toes wide. You really feel that separation. And then bring your left thigh over the top of your right, like a girl sitting. Maybe you can hook that left foot behind the right ankle into twisted roots. And if you can't, that's okay. Just leave Make this more into a gentleman's sitting so that your ankle, left ankle is over the top of your right thigh and your foot extends to the right. Bring your arms out into T. And then on an exhale, begin to lower your knees to the right. Gaze off towards your left hand. Now, if your neck feels constrained, just move it an inch to the left. Now, if you don't feel anything in your left glute, maybe bring that right knee closer to your right arm. Maybe you can even grab that left foot. But feel the stretch across your pecs. Maybe you can feel the stretch from the front ribs across your side body to your shoulder blades. Those would be your serratus muscles. Little muscles that you hardly knew existed, but they're a shoulder stabilizer. If that left arm is suspended in the air, maybe you can put a block under. And just sink into it. Getting that shoulder down to the floor is not that crucial. In fact, it's not important. Enjoy this stretch. Enjoy the twist of your spine. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your knees back to center. Untangle your legs. Be gentle and slow. Then draw one knee into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And when you're ready, add the other knee. Push your hips away. And begin to rock from left to right. Maybe making circles with your knees on the ceiling. If you've never tried that, try it. As a man, I always had a problem with that. It looked silly. But it feels delicious. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, release one leg out to the front corner of your mat. Push that heel away. And then release the other knee. Push that other foot out to the front corner. Bring your arms either by your side, out from your side, anywhere you wish. And stretch your fingers away from your chest. And then relax your arms back down on the mat with your palms up. Close your eyes. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and exhale it out through your nose. And then another in through your nose, out through your nose, and take rest. I'll be coming around and adjusting some of you. I will not be able to get to everyone. But if you do not want me to touch you, just wave me by when you hear my footprints. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers, into your toes, to your wrists, into your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And when you're ready, bend your knees, walk your footprints up to your sit bones, drawing your knees into your chest. Give yourself another squeeze and rock from left to right, massaging your spine one last time. And the next time you come over towards your right side, pause there for just a moment in fetal pose, using your right arm as a pillow. Scan your body to detect any residual tension or stress that may still be lurking inside your tissues that you will want to address later in the week. And then using the strength in your left hand, push the floor away. Rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing this yoga practice this afternoon. Thank you for taking such good care of your body, in your mind, in your breath through the practice of yoga. Take your compassion and empathy and peace that you practice every time you step onto your mat and share that with your family, your friends, and each person you may meet. Namaste. My name is Quentin, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thank you for coming.